Welcome back, guys. This is Automotive Anonymous. That's the 2001 Mazda MX-5 Miata base. It's in a color that I like to call blue. Mazda likes to call it crystal blue metallic. And today we're going to decide, is this 22-year-old legendary British-based sports car, roadster, worth your time and money? Or is it a waste of money? We're going to do a walk around, go through the specs, initial driving impressions, 0 to 60 with the GPS, and then our final thoughts to help you decide, what do you do with the Mazda Miata? Let's dive right into this review. Big thanks to Goody Mazda for letting me borrow the car for the day. I'll link this in the description below if you're interested. Check it out, check out the dealer. They're a good group to work with. Disclaimer, for those of you who follow my channel, you probably can already hear it, but my voice is very hoarse. But that's not going to stop us, especially when we have over 140 horse under the hood. There's a whole lot of reasons why someone might consider the Mazda Miata, whether you're going to drive it top down on summer days, maybe on a Sunday, take it on a road trip, or you're into modifying cars and racing them. Miatas are actually the #1 raced vehicle in the United States on any given weekend. So you can enjoy the elegance of it bone stock, or you can go crazy. There's Hellcat swapped, LS swapped, and Ford V8 engine swapped Mazda Miatas. You can also lower them, lift them, put wide body kits on them. There's a whole lot that you can do. In fact, if you're new to my channel, you should know that I actually own a 2023 Mazda MX-5 Miata Club. So I might be a little bit biased. The first generation of the Miata came out in 1989 and spanned until 97. This second generation that started in 98 and went to 05 is just basically the touched up, slightly more refined version of that no longer has the pop up and down headlights. But these are still really cool. They're all built in Hiroshima, Japan. In 2001, when this one was built, there was about 38,000 MX-5 Miatas built that year, although only about 16,000 of them were made for the United States, because this is a global platform. For the United States, these all came with a 1.8 liter engine, which I'll show you under the hood pretty soon. But for 04 and 05, you could actually get a turbocharged second gen NB Miata, the Mazda Speed, which that is the only years that Mazda has offered a factory turbocharged engine. At just under 13 feet long, it has a 7.5 foot wheelbase, about 4 feet tall, about 5.5 feet wide, and then roughly 4 to 5 inches of ground clearance. These only weigh 22 to 2,300 pounds depending on how they're configured, which is extremely impressive. They can do a full circle in 30 feet, which is fantastic because most performance cars take in the upper 30s. And then the gas tank that's located right there on the driver's side is a 12.7 gallon tank. The automatic transmission like this one has is rated for about 22 city, about 28 highway. So you're gonna be road tripping for about 355 miles before you run out of gas. But because it only weighs a ton, all you need to push it if you run out of fuel is one hand. It's like the Mazda engineers really thought of everything. And because this is a base, you have a 195/50/15 tire with a 15 by 6 inch wide wheel. But if you had a higher trim level, you'd probably have a 205/45/16. Does have disc brakes, double wishbone suspension up front, and then front and rear independent suspension. So Mazda really put a lot of R&D into the suspension when a lot of other auto manufacturers are giving solid rear axles to put down more power. The Mazda was giving you independent suspension to have better control on the road. This base Miata had an MSRP of about $21,000 when it came out brand new, and then you have a basic key that doesn't have lock and unlock features. You have the door panel that has a lot of black soft touch materials that have honestly aged really well for 108,000 miles. Couple speakers, a handle, manual grab release. You can even hear it mechanically open up in the door, the lock, the map pocket, and a black door card. Nothing on the door sill. You have a metal gas pedal, rubberized brake and dead pedal, hood release, fuse box, lighting options, more lighting options, and then the leather seats that are manually adjusted. No roll bars on the back of this NB Miata though. Sitting inside the Miata is honestly a really cozy place to be. I like that you can see the crystal blue hood paint, even though it's aged. It looks really good. Fires right up with the key. And it roars to life. It's very human-centric in here. I like that the wheel has the lower positions that you can hold on to. The horn is pretty high-pitched, but honestly, it's kind of funny, kind of suiting for a Miata in my opinion. Otherwise, you have your ventilation on the dashboard. You have an aftermarket Sony that has some extra storage space, HVAC controls. You can turn off the passenger airbag, and you have a 12-volt cigarette lighter down there. You also have the gear select. Your backup camera can be seen right here. Otherwise, you have an e-brake on the driver's side, which is where this belongs. You have your window controls, then your cup holder #1, and your mug holder #1. And then in the center console, you have your gas door and your trunk release, which is pretty cool. You can see the clips to where the soft top would go in. Here's how you would put that up or down. And then it just lays back here. You can see there's no roll bars on this one, but you do have a little bit more storage if you had to fit something behind the seats. Otherwise, we're going to turn it off and I'll show you the trunk. The trunk is about 4.5 cubic feet. You can see you have the battery down here to help with the 50-50 attempted weight distribution, and your scissor jack, and where a spare tire could be fitted, or you could always get a fix-a-flat kit, whatever you feel comfortable with. But there's enough room to have probably about 2 carry-ons in here, a couple duffel bags, enough to have a good time and go on a short road trip. And then if you're going to be a passenger in the NB Miata, you have basically the same door panel, same design language, nothing new over here, nothing on the door sill. You still have the manually adjusted seats. Our backpack's having a good time. No extra storage on the side. You can see the transmission tunnels right there, and a locking glove box, which is adequately sized. But I know what you guys are waiting for. Let's see under the hood. Let's see what the engine looks like. Let's pop the hood. Under the hood, you have the whopping 1.8 liter Mazda engine, which is in fact a little bit smaller than the average soda in America at 2 liters. But these are really well designed. They make 143 horsepower at 7,000 RPM, 125 pound-feet of twisty torque at 5,500 RPM. And if you were one of the 5,400 people in 2004 and 2005 that bought a Mazda Speed with the turbo, the Spinny Boy, the Hiroshima hairdryer, you'd actually have about 178 horsepower. But overall, it's really clean, really well laid out, and I'm glad that Mazda followed the same design language on the new Miata like mine, which you can see here. Otherwise, you have the filter, the tubing, an old school cabled throttle body to the intake manifold, and then the exhaust manifold side is under the heat shield on the driver's side of the engine. Everything is mechanical, easy to identify, and probably extremely easy to work on from the looks of this. You can see the serpentine belt right there. And yeah, so let's drop the hood, take it for a drive. Time to time travel and teleport to one of my favorite roads, and we'll see how it drives. Initial driving impressions of the 01 Miata NB is it's really fun. It feels very Miata, but also very 90s. You have pretty good visibility, and that's with the top up. But even with the top up, your wind noise is not very good. I'm sure this could use a new soft top. That might help a little bit, but it's also probably just the design and the lack of insulation that these less refined older generations had. It's honestly pretty surprising to me that there's only one generation between this and my 2023 Miata Club. But overall, it's the same formula. Mazda stuck with it on the newer generations, and I'm glad they did, because this car's a hoot. The engine's really rattly. The 4-speed does a pretty good job, though, for the generation that this came from. Of course, it should be a manual transmission, the way God intended you to drive, but if you have to go automatic, I can't blame you. At least you're driving a Miata. 2,200 pounds, it feels really balanced on the road, although after 22 years, the shocks, the suspension, they've been well worn in 108,000 miles. There's some patina on the steering wheels, you can see. But overall, it's held up exceptionally well. This is a really fun car to drive, and it's a legend being a Miata. I'll let you see what it looks like with the top down, driving in just a little bit. As we come to a stop, the brakes still work really well. I do think if you were going to buy this, you were going to track this, you'd probably want to upgrade the suspension, the brakes, a lot of those components that just wear out with time. But honestly, I'm having a good time in this one. There's definitely a little bit to be desired on the power department. The 1.8 liter does sound pretty good. The seats are fairly well bolstered, fairly comfortable. Our backpack's having a good time. But honestly, I feel like I sit really high up in this. When I first got in it and took the soft top down, I felt like I was Donkey Kong in Baby Mario's cart. I just felt like I was almost looking over the dashboard. Or not the dashboard, the windscreen. I'm 5'11". I fit pretty well in my 2023. I feel like I have plenty of legroom in this one. I could be a couple inches taller depending on how your legs and torso are proportionate to each other. But you're going to be wanting to drive with the top off. Otherwise, really good vehicle. We're going to get to our private road, do 0 to 60, and see how fast it is before our final thoughts. 0 to 60 in the Miata. Keep in mind, density altitude is 6,400 feet today, so we are down on power about 20%. I'll brake rev the automatic, We'll see what it can do. I'll verbalize the true 0 to 60, and then the bottom left of the graph to follow will show what it does without the foot overload. Let's go. There's a lot of wind noise, but true 0 to 60 came in at 11.23 seconds. Final thoughts of the NB Miata is honestly it's a really fun ride, and at a 4-figure price tag, as most of these are these days, unless it's maybe the nicest one in the country, maybe the best Mazda speed you can find. These are really good value. Whether you want to enjoy it in its bone stock elegance, drive it topless like it is right now, or you want to heavily modify it, take it to the track, fully redo the suspension, swap the engine, turbocharge the base one, whatever you want to do, you have a blank canvas with the Miata. And one like this, you can afford, there's probably room in the budget to modify it the way that you want. So that's pretty cool, whether you want to V8 swap it, stance it, lower it, Baja buggy it, whatever you want to do. These are a really cool option, and there's a lot of potential. The Mazda is very happy to know that it has potential and that you see potential in it. But anyways, guys, I really enjoyed this vehicle. I've also reviewed an NC Miata, and then I again own an ND 2023, and I love it. I drive the poop out of it. It's a fantastic car. So now I just need to find an NA to review for you guys. If you like this video, please consider liking this video. If you want to follow my channel, you're welcome to subscribe. I'll link this one in the description below if you're interested in checking it out. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.